Now let's take a look at the relationship between different units. And here we're going to look at several different units for length. And what we're looking at the relationship between basically are metric units and English units. So 1 kilometer is 0.6214 miles, a meter, a little more than a yard, 39.37 inches. And here's the relationship between a meter and a yard. A foot is 30.48 centimeters, and 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Now here it tells us that this is exactly, remember for our purposes, we're going to consider all of these relationships to be exact. Now we're going to refer to these relationships as equivalent statements, and these tell the equivalent or the relationship between two different units. Here are some relationships between the metric mass units, and this is the wrong unit here. Kilogram is going to be a kg. Oops, lowercase g. There we go. A kilogram is 2.205 pounds. A pound is 453.59 grams, and an ounce is 28.35 grams. You do not need to memorize these conversion factors, but you will have to apply them, and you will need to find them. These are in your textbook, and they will be given to you on your in-class quizzes and exams. Now here we have two conversion factors that relate metric units. 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters, and 1 liter is 1,000 cubic centimeters. And we remember that a milliliter is equal to a centimeter cubed. A liter is 1.057 quarts, and 1 gallon is 3.785 liters. Now, one set of conversion factors that you will not find in your textbook are the English to English conversion factors. And what we mean by that are the conversion factors that we use in our everyday life, such as 12 inches equals 1 foot, or 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon. And then this actually works in metric as well. 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. These conversion factors you are expected to know. Now let's look at metric to metric. Some of you may already be familiar with some metric to metric conversion factors, and we've already reviewed two. 1 centimeter cubed is equal to 1 milliliter, and 1 decimeter cubed is equal to 1 liter. But what I'm going to be focusing on now is mostly the relationship between prefixed units and base units. Many of these conversion factors will not be written out for you, and it's important that you know how to write these out correctly. The key to this is to always follow the same exact pattern. And I'm going to go ahead and look at the relationship between micrograms and grams to show you how this pattern works. You always start out with one of the prefixed unit, and then you write the equal sign, and then you start what I call a translation process. So we have a 1 on the left hand side, we come over here and we draw a 1. We have a gram on the left hand side, and we come over here and we write a gram. And then lastly, we take a look at our prefix. Our prefix is always going to translate as some power of 10. And what that power is what we refer to our table for. Here's the table that relates the symbol with its equivalent power of 10. So if we look down at this table, we see that micro stands for 10 to the minus 6. So we go back to our conversion factor and we write 10 to the minus 6. Now let me just show you a common mistake, which is writing 1 gram is equal to 1 times 10 to the minus 6 micrograms. This is completely incorrect, and it will get you the wrong answer. What you want to do is, when you write out your conversion factor from prefix to base, is make sure you do this translation process and that your prefix is on the opposite side of the equal sign from your power of 10. So you want to make sure that you never do something like this. You are always going to start out with one of your prefixed unit and on the other side your base unit will have a power of 10. Now I chose gram as my base unit, but this prefix works for any physical property that we're going to look at. 1 microliter is 1 times 10 to the minus 6 liter. 1 micrometer is 1 times 10 to the minus 6 meter. So again, we want to be super careful that it's always one of the prefixed unit, and then we do our translation, 1 to 1, our prefix to the power of 10, and then a base unit on both sides. Each one of these components is incredibly important, and if you leave any of them out, you will be in for a hard road to do your math that we're going to go into next. If you would like some more practice in writing these conversion factors, I have an extra worksheet available to you that you can print out, and that will give you some more practice. Okay, so let's review conversion factors. There are 3 types of conversion factors. The conversion factors that go between English and metric, some of which you may know, but in general you're not expected to know these. These will be given to you on any quiz or test. English to English, such as the relationship between feet and inches or quarts and gallons, and you're expected to know these. And then last, metric to metric. And there are a few that don't deal with the prefix These two are not related through the prefix relationship, but you do need to know how to get from any prefixed unit to the base unit. And remember, we translate our 1, we translate our base unit, and then we translate our prefix to its power of 10. And if we were to look at the table, we would see that kilo means 10 to the third. And then we could use any base unit here. 1 kiloliter is equal to 1 times 10 to the third meter. So we're going to make a great deal of use of these conversion factors, so it's important to know where to get them. Now let's take a look at the relationships between these different values, and if you would, pause the lecture for a few minutes and figure out which in each pair is larger. And the key to finding this out is to look at the conversion factors. A meter is larger than a yard, just slightly by a few inches. A mile is larger than a kilometer. An inch is 2.5 times larger than a centimeter. A kilogram is larger than a pound. It's about 2.2 pounds. And this one, you had to look at the prefixes to see which one was larger. Milli is 10 to the minus 3, and micro is 10 to the minus 6. So milli, 10 to the minus 3, is going to be larger than 10 to the minus 6. Looking at the conversion factor, a liter is slightly larger than a quart, and a gallon is much larger than a liter, and a gallon is also much larger than 1,000 centimeters cubed, which is equal to a liter.